Well, Mark, there's a meme that has been going around for a while now about what does Salesforce do? People ask it every time I mention Salesforce. It is a joke now, but I do want to ask you, what does Salesforce do? Give me a nice, concise way of wrapping up what Salesforce does that is at least more descriptive than just customer relationship management software.
Well, yeah, I've never been more excited about Salesforce and our industry and what is happening. This is just an incredible time. I mean, it's amazing what is going on. And we are just seeing the birth of something incredibly new. So I do think that while you kind of look at Salesforce, we're really a company that helps our, what do we do? We help our customers connect with their customers in incredible new ways. And our customers are 135,000 companies all over the world who make all kinds of different products, from the media industry to the financial services industry, to the consumer product goods industry, to the government, on and on. And they all have customers, and they need tools to connect with those customers. And it could be in sales.
And find data about those
What's
customers.
that?
Store data about those customers.
Of course.
Access
like
that
the
data.
customer's
Yeah, just
name,
everything you know.
what products they have, what they paid for those products, who the salesperson was, who the service person was, sending an email, to the customer, conducting commerce with the customer, analytics around the customer. That is been our business really for 25 years, helping customers to manage and share information, mostly around their customer. And that has been a very good business for us, and an exciting business. I think we're saying we're going to do about $38 billion in revenue this year. We're the second largest software company in the world, and our specialty is customer relationship management, helping you connect with your customer in a powerful way. And the companies that every day that you use, and love their products, it could be Disney, it could be Sony, it could be Ford. They all use Salesforce products to connect with you. And this has been a great business, managing data. And I think, to your point, that there is something new and something super great happening, which is a transformation of our business that we are also now about to become, we already have become, a digital labor provider. So we're providing now digital labor in addition to our software. So while
and the form of that is agents, right? I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast. The 2025 is the year of Agentic AI, and in your telling there, you're saying these agents are basically little workers that a worker can send out to do what they need to do.
I don't know if they're little workers or big workers. We'll have to ask them how big they are. I don't know their size.
Well, you got the little Einstein, right? I mean, that's the thing, is I see that little Einstein mascot y'all have.
But what I can say is that we are providing digital labor, and this has got to be an incredible new market. I mean, it's a multi-trillion-dollar market, I'm sure, because what you're seeing is that while we were helping customers, for example, manage their sales organization, and manage their sales data and their forecasts, and they're making sure that, companies hit their quarters. Now we're also providing the salespeople, but we're doing it digitally. Or while we were helping them manage their call centers and their contact centers and their service organizations and their field service organizations, now we're helping, providing the service personnel that go along with it, digital ones. And I don't know their size. So I'll just say that is a big shift. And for a company like ours, we are really excited about this because our customers are adopting this at a rate and at a level that we've never seen with any product in our history. And we now have more than 3,000 companies that have signed revenue-based agreements with us to deliver Agentforce, which is not just a sales force, not just a service force, but an agent force. And we are going to deliver agent forces for these customers. And they need this digital labor because there's a labor shortage and they can't find this personnel. So they're able to use our digital labor. And that is really cool.
Yeah, and I think the really important part of what you say about that for an investment-minded audience is the revenue-generating deals you've signed, because in many ways you're rolling out Agentforce and not really charging for it all the time, right? You want people to test
We're
this
mostly
out.
charging for it. Yeah. We have some customers who are testing, but we have signed more than 3,000 revenue-based customers. Those are agreements that have, where there's revenue associated with it, and that those agreements span from, probably small agreements to we've even seen 8-digit Agentforce agreements. So there is a really strong scale, and I think this is our most exciting product of all time. It could be our largest product ever. If this continues to go as I see it going, I don't think there's any end in sight. And the other cool thing about it is, of course, it brings along all our other products with it. So you need more actually of our sales cloud and our service cloud and our marketing cloud and our platform and all of those things to as you move these things forward, because we're all about humans with agents creating customer success together. And the cool thing about our product is, yes, your agent is out there working, but all of a sudden your customer says, okay, I don't want to deal with the agent anymore. I want to talk to a human. Bam, the human appears, and the human knows exactly where you are because they're looking at a screen that has all the information directly from the agent and talking with that agent as well in real time. So that is the cool thing, that we have that kind of perfect symmetry between the agentic world and the human world happening.
Yeah, and it's going to take some time to get there. I think people are going to have to get used to this.
Yeah,
you bringing up all the
true.
revenue, like that is a that's a huge
and we
thing.
have to find out what size those agents are. Are they the little agents or the big ones?
I'm telling you, man, that little Einstein is always going to be on your shoulder.
We don't know
when
how
I see
big those
you.
agents are. Are they like the people, the Willy Wonka, the Oompa Loompa type? Are we looking? What are we looking at? We don't know. So we'll have to go out and find out how big these agents are.
Well, I've heard you talk about bots for years, Mark. I remember, I think it was the 17 or 18 Dreamforce. There was a keynote you gave that was very much about how bots were going to make. So like, kind of break down how agents are different from bots.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you
for
all your support of Salesforce over the years, and also spending so much time with us and understanding our products, because that has been very meaningful to us. And I'll tell you that, you're right. We've been doing AI for, more than a decade, really consequentially. And, we are the largest provider of enterprise AI in the world. We'll do more than 2 trillion enterprise AI transactions this week. But this is a new level, as you said now very clearly, agentic AI. What are the 3-4 levels that we're talking about? There was kind of this, early level, which is this kind of machine intelligence, machine learning. Mm-hmm. You remember that very well, because that's where we all started, just predictive, making things much better for customers, helping you to understand the next best action. And then a few years ago, we all have witnessed, that ChatGPT moment where we were squarely in the generative AI world. And that generative AI world was so cool when we were on there on those prompts, and it's like super search. And tell me, what is the best camera that I should be using for my podcast? And boom, it really knows exactly what to tell me. And it's pretty good. Not 100%. We all know that, because we've all had the ChatGPT moment where we go, well, that's not exactly right. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And now we're moving into that third phase of that agentic world, where we're creating those agents. And because it's relatively new, which is why we don't know what size they are, we are going to, move into a new world of AI where, we've kind of seen it in the movies, where the AI is working alongside us in our businesses, mm-hmm. and making our businesses about people and digital workers both. And then we're going to move into a robotic world, which will be fourth, where the AI is much more present in the physical world, and the agents get manifested into the robots. So these are like the 4 layers of AI that we can really see in the short term. and that we have real examples with real customers who are doing exciting things.
And where does that land on the money scale for Salesforce? I mean, this is the big talk on Wall Street, Mark, is the monetization of AI. There are analysts who doubt that this will lead to huge new revenue for Salesforce. And I could see the argument, especially, from the customer side, Mark, when I talk to, customers of yours or other enterprise software, they don't want to see their software budgets balloon by signing on to a bunch of new AI software. So what does it look like? Are they going to cut out some of their Salesforce?
Well, those are not the
are you hoping they cut out some of their
talking
competitors?
Because what I see is something very different. And what I see is a new world of digital labor, and that we are talking to companies about enterprise software. And let's kind of take your premise. Well, we don't want our enterprise software budgets to balloon. Okay, that's fine. Let's keep them in this box over here. Now let's talk to you about the second box, which is digital labor. Because I think that what we have to realize is we've entered a second TAM. So while we've been in the kind of multi-$100 billion TAM is total addressable market. I'm sorry, yes. I kind of jumped in that, but the total addressable market of enterprise software, at least the one that we're in CRM, is hundreds of billions of dollars. Like Slack, which we make, is probably in the $100 billion collaboration space. But when you look at the sales and service and marketing and commerce and put all that together, that's multi-$100 billion. Even analytics, we of course make Tableau. That's like $100 billion TAM. Now, put all that aside just for a second, because that's the world you and I have been in, right? Like we're pretty vested. Like we could have a long talk just about enterprise software. Now let's not.
Oh, sure.
Let's put that aside. And now let's talk about the digital labor market, which you and I have never had a conversation about, right? So this is our first conversation about digital labor, about agentic layers on top of companies. This is our first conversation in detail on that we are in a new world with a new TAM. So that is what I think everyone is having a little bit trouble getting their head around. And my job, I feel, is to help open the door to really say, we're all going to have an agent force. And I think Salesforce is probably the first company to deliver this capability at scale. And, our goal is to have 1 billion agents in place within a year. And I feel very excited that we're going to hit that goal, because I think we will have tens of thousands of companies, which is maybe, call it 10 to 20% of our customer base, using this product in production and deployed, and that there is going to be a tremendous agentic layer. And I'll tell you that I also feel that it's on me to pioneer this in my own company, which is why I've built help.salesforce.com, which you can go to, log in as a Salesforce customer. It will ground, which means connect you into the AI. We know who you are. We know your products. And the agent starts to take over and work with you. And that has been our own use of the agentic layer of Agent Force. And it has been incredible. We get about 35,000 customer inquiries every single week on help.salesforce.com. And up to this point, about 10,000 of those have to be handled by our support agents. So we have about 9,000 support agents. And now, by going to Agent Force, we've cut that to 5,000. So now that Agent Force can handle, of the 36,000, 31,000 of them, and 5,000 a week are going to humans. So I actually need less support agents, and I'm rebalancing my workforce into new sales folks and new what we call sales development representatives, business development representatives, and other functions, because there's just less for the support organization to do because of what we've done already with help.salesforce.com, and by delivering an agentic layer for our customers. And I think that's going to be an example for other customers to do this. And that, I think, is very cool.
I don't know if everybody would say it's cool, though, Mark.
Okay.
I mean, when you're talking about not competing with other enterprise software, but instead creating digital labor, human labor is going to have a little bit of a problem there. Right?
Okay.
And I think that's what a lot of people react to this kind of talk. I think the reaction is...
Let's take that head on. But first, let's address your first question, which was, hey, is the enterprise software market going to grow? And I'm trying to make the case that I think enterprise software market is growing because it's the enterprise software market plus the digital labor market. And that was your first question. So now you're starting your
Right, but the
second
digital
question.
labor market would then be competing against a human labor market,
Yes.
and there's problems there.
Yes.
I would say.
Well, I think that this is reality, which is we are entering into a world where there is going to be an opportunity to expand the labor market. And I think right now the labor market, as you know, is very stagnant. We have declining birth rates in a lot of countries. We don't have people to hire. There aren't people to fill a lot of these positions, and it's hard to grow your business. And now it's going to be much easier to grow your business because you're going to be able to do it with digital labor. And as I talk to and work with CEOs and companies all over the world, there are opportunities that are appearing for these companies to grow and to expand where they just could not before. And because we provide the digital labor, they're able to go into new territories or speak languages or, open opportunities that before were just not available. And this is a growth opportunity in all areas.
And how do you deal with the competition there? I know you've talked a lot about Microsoft on the social media lately. They got Copilot out there. They're really pushing that as well. I mean, you're not alone in making this push into agents and helpers and AI. How do you compete and how do you convince people to go with you instead of Microsoft? And I would like to point out that you've been calling Copilot Clippy 2.0.
Yeah.
I did that first in December 2023. So I'm going to say that you stole my joke.
I remember that. And look, you and I have been doing this a long time, and Copilot, Microsoft has been a disappointment in this area. They have delegated their whole AI strategy to OpenAI, and they just are reselling the OpenAI product as a repackaged product in the app called Copilot with a prompt, and a search field. They have not deployed, thousands of customers on the agentic layer as we have. And they're a fast follower. That's their business model. I'm sure that they will have a product and do what they can. But there's a reason why Microsoft only has a few percentage points in the CRM market after trying to follow us for 25 years, because they're distracted. They have a lot of things they're working on. I mean, over here, they're competing against Amazon. Over here, they're competing against Google. Over here, they're competing against Oracle. Like, they've got a lot that they're trying to do. The Sony with the PlayStation, I mean, they've got their hands full. But what we are singularly focused to, as I said at the beginning, where we were kind of joking, we're trying to help our customers connect with their customers in new ways in these key customer touch points. And now this is a new way with digital labor to do that at this agentic layer, this idea that, and you understand this very well, which is that we make the #1 service cloud in the world. We have a tremendous business with Service Cloud. It's incredible, the products and the customers that we've been able to deploy with the Service Cloud. And now this Service Cloud is agent first. And the Service Cloud that we're offering our customers today is all agent first Service Cloud. So not only do you have the incredible, robust functionality that we had, let's say 6 months ago, which was #1 in the world, but it has a huge new agentic layer also. And that is like, for our customers, yes, their heads are spinning, our heads are spinning, everybody's head should be spinning, because we just all walk through a door, which is we're moving into the agentic world. We moved from the predictive AI world into the generative AI world, which was the really cool, whizzy, propellers on the top of our heads were spinning world. But now we're moving in the agentic world, and this agentic world is a lot about dollars and cents, and it is a lot about revenue, and it is a lot about expansion of opportunity for our customers and for our whole industry, because we are entering a whole new world.
Yeah, when we talk about digital labor versus human labor and what the financial effects of that, we've really seen it in Silicon Valley over the last couple of years. You and Google and a lot of other companies went through massive rounds of layoffs to shore up the bottom line. And now we're bringing in AI, and it's almost like I see tech setting an example for other sectors on what can be done. But I wonder if all those other sectors follow, like, are we still going to be a shortage of workers? Are there going to be a lot more workers out there after layoffs that are replaced by agents?
Okay, I think you're mixing up two things here, and I want to try to tease them apart. So I think that that's really important. So you're right, Salesforce did a layoff exactly 2 years ago, because what happened was there was this thing called the pandemic. I don't know if you heard about it, but
right.
you and I have not spoken
Still living
actually
through
since
it.
the pandemic. That's kind of funny. But
Right.
there was this thing called the pandemic. So let me catch you up. And during the pandemic, it was really a moment for the whole tech industry where revenue just accelerated. Like it was incredible. And all companies, Salesforce, but also even like companies like Meta and others, like in social media, everybody went on this huge hiring surge. And thinking that, oh, the pandemic is going on forever. And then the pandemic ended. And when the pandemic ended, if you look at Salesforce now versus when the pandemic started, Salesforce, like I said, is going to do about 38 billion this year. But when the pandemic started, it was 20 billion. So we've almost doubled our company at scale in that period of what is now 5 years. So that is really important to kind of grok this idea that there was a moment where the whole industry was surging. We were all surging our employment, and we just went a little too quickly, and we needed to make an adjustment. So let's put that issue aside for just a second, because I think that what we're saying when we talk about digital labor is now we're really saying, oh yeah, look at, we're able to extend what we're able to do as a company. Like I am myself doing this, as I said, and I'm able to do more, grow faster, go into new places, do new things, offer new products faster because I have digital labor and human labor.
Yeah, it's funny that I hear you use that top line and talk about growth, because one thing I've noticed with your earnings calls and other things in the past couple of years, Mark, is this very quick shift from talking about revenue growth a lot to talking about profit growth a lot. And that's something, again, I've seen Silicon Valley wide, big tech wide, right? I mean, Facebook and Google installing dividends.
Yes.
And I don't think we talk about this enough, that there's been this sea change from focusing on growth to focusing on profit in tech in Silicon Valley over the past couple of years.
Yes. So let's talk about that, because you're really doing a good job, actually. I think, I think clarifying that there's kind of two worlds and that we all went through a door. So before we went through that door, what was happening was we're saying, well, okay, this is our product line and this is where we are and this is our business post-pandemic. So we've really grown. So now we're going to optimize cash flow and margin. And, we're going to do about almost $13 billion in cash flow this year. I can't remember the exact guidance we've given. I think it was about 12.8 billion. I'd have to refer you back to the earnings call. And, we have, 32% margins, and we're high revenue levels. And these financial metrics are very different than where we were, which was at the pandemic start. So let's say at the pandemic start, we were like this $20 billion company and our margins were maybe sub 20%. Now we're like in this a very different place. So there has been a transformation, and, look, the whole world is transformed during the pandemic. I think, like, you and I realize, like, the way we work, the way we live, the way we operate, the way we run our companies has changed in the last 5 years. There's no question. And the business characteristics have changed. And so these companies went through an adjustment. And like when you said about layoffs, financial metrics, let's put all that in a box, because I think that that is the box we were all living about a year ago. And when we looked at AI and generative AI, it was still in that box. It was still in there. Now I'm trying to make a case that there's a new box and that we're kind of moving from, okay, here we are. And now we're also like moving now into this new world. And these two worlds, we need to tease apart a little bit. And I can understand how you can kind of merge them together, but they're very different things. And I think, look, as a CEO of a company who's kind of trying to lead our company through all these things, some of these things are exciting. Some of them are surprises, but I think we were managing in one direction and we were going through, I think, a financial transformation post-pandemic. And now you can see we're going through, correctly, as you said, a growth transformation with this new product category.
And how should the average investor kind of ingest that, Mark? Because like what I've always seen is there's growth stocks that are growing revenue and growing the share price, and then there's value stocks that are growing the profits and sharing those profits. And now we've seen kind of a switch from Silicon Valley from one to the other. Should investors be acting differently? Should investors be treating big tech companies in Silicon Valley differently because of that?
You said that perfectly. We went through a company where we went through a financial transformation. So we have new financial characteristics that we can value our company based on, what our cash flow is, what our profitability is, what our revenue is. And we can also look at what our growth prospects are, new products and new TAMs. And so these are the two worlds. And you're right. If one can be a value world like that world, and the second world can be a growth world. And when companies start to have both of these characteristics, that's when they can accelerate. And look, as a job of a tech CEO is to get into both of those worlds. You want to have great financial characteristics and you want to have clear growth prospects. And you want to be able to do both and bring them together. And this is the hard part of being a tech CEO, certainly at scale. Like, at our size and our scale, I was excited that we were just going through this incredible financial transformation. And we were excited to talk about 1,000 basis points of margin improvement. Now, what's exciting is to say, wait a minute, oh, something just happened. And we're delivering this incredible new product line. And we knew this was coming. I would say a year ago, I knew this was coming and I was getting really excited. But it was like, whoa, this is like right at the tail of the pandemic and the financial transformation, because our financial transformation, as you correctly pointed out, really started in January 2023. And that's for a lot of companies, that was true, and I love how, Brad Gerstner kind of talks about companies had to get fit. And that was his kind of code words where it's like, hey, you guys really need to look at where we are now. But it was really a kind of a look back at, hey, what have you done in the pandemic? And now you need to really adjust for what today's reality is. Well, reality has changed again because technology has radically changed. And what has happened is we've been able to do something that we could not do before. And that is what is exciting. And that's why we're squarely in this agentic world and heading towards this, robotic world, in some point in the future as well.
Yeah, I hear you wanting to be a value and a growth company. That's a really rare beast, Mark. I mean, I saw Apple get it right over the past decade or so, where they were still managing to grow while amassing these massive profits and giving them back in dividends. But it's not something that happens that often. And so, again, we're getting back to the competition thing of who is going to be able to actually get there and be that value plus growth company at scale that you're talking about. And it'll be very interesting. That's kind of what I'm watching and what I want people to understand is happening in the Valley and in tech writ large, is that we do have this change and everybody wants to be that value plus growth company. I don't know how many are actually going to get there.
Well, I think, we can kind of look at, and if we talk about the financial characteristics for just a second, and then we'll go to the growth characteristics. We look at the financial characteristics, we're very excited about these huge numbers that we're able to deliver, to the market. You look at our last quarter, it was incredible what we were able to do. And at the same time, when you were at Dreamforce, it was like, whoa, what happened? And like, this is how I knew let me tell you how I knew there was a moment, because Dreamforce is a good example. We were in the large keynote room for the first time in a while at Moscone. We had moved back in it. It was the 15,000 people in the room. And I'm doing the keynote, and it's like 2 hours. And there's 15,000 people in the room, and I think there's about 10 million online with us. But I can't see those people. But I can see the 15,000 people in the room. And I'm walking around the room, and you can see me doing this. It's on YouTube. And then I have a podium that I can stand up and I can kind of get on the stage and I can see all the way to the back of the room. And the keynote is coming to an end. And I said this to myself: something is happening because it's 2 hours and not a single person has left the room. What is going on? And I could tell it was really different. We had gone through the agentic layer. We had gone through the agent force. We had gone through how it works. We had gone through the fundamental changes in computer science that have allowed it to occur. We went through how we evolved our product from being automating all these customer touch points, sales, service, marketing, commerce, analytics, Slack, et cetera, to building a data cloud on top of them to amalgamate all of our customers' data and to federate it, which means connect to other data sources like the snowflakes and the Databricks and all of these different redshifts and all these things. And then we've added an agentic layer on top of it. And I think because we were talking about things that no one had ever heard before, that we had never spoken about, we were demonstrating things that no one had ever seen before, no one was leaving. And I said, this is a moment. And I think that what you're saying correctly is you're putting these two things together. This was not our strategy to do this. The strategy was, yes, to have great financial characteristics over the last 2 years. And then all of a sudden, just through happenstance, through really because we're a company that prizes innovation. And yes, we've always been focused on AI. So of course it's going to be born out of us. And all of a sudden we're saying, hey, look at this. It's humans with agents are now driving customer success together. And our customers all looked at us and said, what did you say? And I was like, just sitting there going, oh, I think we actually did our job. And I got off the keynote and I said to my employees, because we do a little post-mortem, I'm like, we did our job because no one left the room. And there's different times in companies, evolution where, look, people will be streaming out after 90 minutes because they only have a certain attention span. But I didn't see it.
I gotta say, I've walked out of a Dreamforce keynote after 90 minutes, and I probably shouldn't say that to you, but I have done it, Mark. I'll be dead honest.
Of course, and I've walked out of it myself, so I get it. But this one was different, and I think we're at a moment right now, and as we kind of head from the agentic layer to the robotic layer, we all watch the movies. Peter Schwartz, who's our chief futurist, helped write Minority Report and War Games. And these AI movies that we all grew up in, like Terminator and Her and, Space Odyssey and all these things, which are in our subconscious and have kind of helped us to create this fantasy of what AI is and what it could be. But now I do feel at some level we're all starting to live it a little bit more, not perfectly, but, it's still happening, and that's exciting. And we all, I think, recognize that at some deep level. And we also realize we all will need to understand this so that we can all be successful at this time. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you walking through like the financial and technological changes that we're seeing at this point. Before I let you go, I do want to bring up cultural shift. We've seen a lot of tech execs reach out to Donald Trump as he's about to come into office, offer more to his inauguration fund than they did for Biden or for the first Trump, and really reach out and chat with him, go to Mar-a-Lago, talk. Now, you've said that Salesforce is not donating to the inauguration fund, but have you reached out? Have you had a phone call with Donald Trump? Have you been down to Mar-a-Lago? And what do you feel is behind this cultural shift in tech at this point in time?
Well, let me say it a couple different ways. First, I've been the CEO of Salesforce for 25 years, and I've worked with a lot of presidents very successfully, including Donald Trump. And presidents change, administrations change. We don't change. We're the same company. We're the same core values. You know that. You can probably give a lot of the Dreamforce keynote yourself. It doesn't change. And that's...
But do you jump on those values as much, Mark? I mean, you made big news by threatening to pull out of Indiana when they were instituting a trans bathroom law. Do you feel like you can do that now?
Yes,
Are you going to make those stands anymore?
And I'll tell you that we are the same company. I'm the same CEO. And yes, I still feel like I can do everything that I've done, which is, number one is, we always have our employees back. And like the case that you're making is what happened in Indiana, where at the time, Mike Pence, who was a very, good friend of mine, actually, signed a law that I did not agree with. And I said, Mike, you're going to cause us to disinvest from Indiana. Why that's significant is, that we're the largest tech employer in San Francisco. We're the largest employer in San Francisco, actually. But you may not know we're the largest tech employer in Indiana. And we have like Indianapolis.
Well, Indianapolis, you got a really big old office there.
Yeah. Indianapolis. And so I'm like, Mike, we can't do this. And it turned into kind of a little bit of a heat storm. 200 companies took our side, but it only lasted for 2 or 3 days. And Mike changed the law. And we negotiated with him. And that really reflects the relationship that we had with Mike, and how things should work. And so, yes, we'll always have our employees back. That's extremely important. That's who we are. That's always, look, we work in a lot of countries and a lot of states and a lot of cities. So there's a lot of politicians that we have to work with and communicate. And when our employees have a problem and they call me and it's happening every day, and they're not happy with something that's going on in their, jurisdiction because there's something they don't agree with. Look, I'll say, look, I can't do everything for you. And there's a lot of things I can't do politically. I'll try. But what I can do is, if you don't like where you are, hey, it's a big world and Salesforce is a big company, I'll move you. So I've moved more than 300 employees who are just unhappy with whatever political environment they're in anywhere in the world, and I'll just hit a button and move them somewhere else. And
Does
that's
that include out of California? Have
sure.
you moved people who are unhappy with California
Absolutely. We've
out?
moved people wherever they want to go, they can move. That's a great thing about being an employee at Salesforce is our values are what are our values? Trust, customer success, innovation, equality, sustainability. These are our 5 core values. And we're aligned with those 5 values. Those are the kind of people we want to have in our company. And once you're aligned with us and you're a successful employee, we're going to do whatever we can to help you and support you.
And do you feel you have an open line of communication with Donald Trump? Have you spoken to him?
I have a good line of communication with Donald Trump, the Trump administration. You may know we just made him Person of the Year. He was very excited about that. You know, that's a recognition of the huge influence that he's had. I think he's now been on the cover of Time magazine almost 40 times, maybe more than 40 times. And this, I think, was a huge moment for him that he has been reelected as president of the United States. And, you know, I congratulated him. And I feel like, of course, I'm going to do whatever I can to support the president of the United States and our country and do whatever's necessary to make us successful.
All right, well, that's going to be it, Mark. We have already taken up more of your time than you allotted to us, but I can't thank you enough for being willing to sit down and talk to us here today. And thank you so much for being a guest.
It's always great to spend time with you, and I hope we could do this again. And I hope that you asked a lot of really good questions, and I think that you can see how those things can kind of get merged together, and we have to tease them apart to get to another level of clarity and understanding.
Sure do, and I'll be teasing them apart on this program and in my own brain for the next couple years as we deal with, like, as you say, the next level of this, which will be in the physical world. Look forward to it, man. Well, let's not make it a dream for us. Let's make it happen before that. Thank you so much.